It was the sort of crisp Halloween evening where the air felt thin and electric. Porch lights flickered, plastic ghouls and inflatable pumpkins bobbed in the garden. Somewhere across the street, a stereo wailed out, "Monster Mash." And up and down the sidewalks, clusters of costumed adults traded jokes and sipped hot cider from steaming mugs. If Halloween had ambitions for theatricality, this was its showcase. Inside the blue house on Elmstead Drive, Cody was currently hunched over a kitchen counter, arranging trays of store-bought cupcakes to look like bats. His best friend, JJ, had been wrestling with a plastic skeleton since noon. This was their yearly tradition, celebrating Halloween with the sort. But this year, there was a twist. This year, Cody's dad, Robert, was joining in. Robert was a man of habits and practicalities. His personal concept of spooky was letting the battery in the smoke detector run low. He claimed Halloween was for the young at heart, which, he insisted, he could still relate to, until confronted by skeletons with glowing eyes or the sound. But this year, after a particularly persuasive campaign conducted by Cody and JJ involving persistent text messages, themed cupcakes, and a plastic cauldron filled with individually wrapped chocolates, Robert had relented. There was, after all, no harm in a little fun. And so, as dusk fell and the trick-or-treaters began their rounds, Robert, swathed in an absurdly fluffy werewolf onesie, found himself sandwiched between Cody in a vampire cape and JJ, a pirate, sporting one glittery eye patch and two foam swords, on the porch. The evening's goal: to distribute candy, listen to the playlist JJ had painstakingly curated, only the spooky jams, Cody, now's not the time for yacht rock, and, of course, enjoy the thrill of it all. It began innocuously enough. Clusters of adults in costumes strolled up to the porch, tipping their hats and complimenting Robert's admittedly eye-catching wolf tail. There was laughter. There was the exchange of tricks or treats, mostly treats. There was the delightful discovery that the local hardware store sold pumpkin spice cider in single-serve flasks. By the third round of candy, Robert was beginning to relax. Perhaps, he thought, he was not as out of place in all this as he feared. The first sign that things were about to change came when the fog machine sputtered, coughed, and choked out a denser-than-planned cloud that rolled across the porch like a silent, creeping river. The effect was, as Cody had promised, awesome. "That's theatrical," Robert murmured, coughing as he waved the fog away from his nose. JJ grinned. "Just wait till you see what I rigged up in the hallway." Robert, who had not been informed of any hallway arrangements, raised an eyebrow. But the wind changed, and someone at the curb shouted for more candy, and so the evening rolled on. All was well, until the doorbell rang. There was something about the way it chimed, a little sharp, a little too deliberate. Cody and JJ exchanged looks. "I'll get it," Robert declared, keen to prove he wasn't fazed by cheap theatrics. He pulled open the front door, steeled himself, and stepped out into the gathering dark. Standing on the stoop was a trio of adults. Their costumes were more committed than most. Dark shrouds, faces painted with intricate patterns, hollow-eyed and angular. One carried a lantern that glowed an unnatural green. Another stared silently, the lines of fake blood on her cheeks stark in the porch light. "Happy Halloween," Robert managed, extending the candy bowl with only a little wobble in his voice. The tallest of the three held out a hand. "Trick or treat," she intoned, unblinking. Robert gave them candy. Lots of it. He was pretty sure he even gave away one of the extra cupcakes. When he closed the door, he realized his palms were damp and that his heart was thudding in a way he hadn't experienced since the last time he'd been caught in the break room without a mask. Cody watched him from the living room. "Everything okay?" he called, cheerfully oblivious. "Fine," Robert said, straightening. "That's just very good costumes." JJ was smirking. "The night's still young, Rob." And it was. Several minutes later, Determined to wash away the aftertaste of mild embarrassment, Robert poured himself a mug of cider and joined the others in the kitchen. Cody was telling the story of his most disastrous Halloween to date. There was a possum, a glowing pumpkin, and some very angry neighbors. When the power in the kitchen flickered once, twice, and died. Instantly, the house was plunged into the sort of darkness that seems thicker than it should be. The only light came from the hall, faint, greenish, and distinctly unpleasant. JJ gasped. The skeleton hallway. Robert, naturally, asked for clarification. Cody responded, "Oh, we set up the haunted corridor for night." JJ put sensors on the motion lights so they flicker green and purple, and there are those noise-activated groaning effects. You should go check it out. Robert sincerely considered objecting. He did not, because somewhere in the calculus of family and dignity, it seemed that braving a hallway festooned with plastic bones was easier than admitting trepidation in front of Cody and JJ. He handed off the mug and squared his shoulders. "Watch this," he said, with far more confidence than he felt. The hall was not long, but tonight it seemed to stretch out interminably. The fog from earlier had drifted inside, swirling around the shins of cardboard gravestones. After his first step, something to his right began a low, unsettling groan. Robert paused, peering into the gloom. Out of nowhere, a stuttering strobe light flashed. The wall-mounted skeleton's jaw dropped open with a mechanical clack, and from above, some trick of strings or cleverly placed hooks, a gauzy white shape swooped, trailing tattered cloth. Robert's composure, well fortified by decades of boring practicality, fractured. He shouted, a short, sharp exclamation that echoed oddly off the plaster. A moment later, the groaning shifted to music, a tinny, ominous melody. The hallway, of course, had been booby-trapped from start to finish.